Namaskar friends, I am Dr. Vijay Singh Rathod. I am working as a professor of computer science and director of international cell at IISDM University, Jaipur. Today I am going to deliver my talk on the best practices of research with special reference to research ethics. So let me present my PPT. I hope it is visible to all of you. So the best practices of research. The question comes, I am a good person. Why do I need to worry about research ethics? It's true that we can't do much about the bad person who is determined to do evil things. However, research ethics is not just or even mostly about bad people doing bad things. It is also about imperfect people doing imperfect things for a variety of reasons. Socially acceptable practices we later deem wrong, accident, misdemeanor, that can be also called as minor wrongdoing, uh, wrong that we try to justify, taking shortcuts, missing something, especially with new methods or technology. One can become involved in research ethics violations through the wrong of others. Sometimes the right things to do just is not clear, and self-deception and other psychological tendencies. Other than this, there are some professional pressures as well, like to publish or perish your work, to retaining a job, to keeping up with the peers, securing grants, being first to a discovery. All of those encourages shortcuts and misdemeanor or worse. So ethics. Ethics is the disciplined study or morality. And morality asks the question, what should one's behavior be? And if we talk about research ethics, it involves the application of fundamental ethical principles to planning, conducting, and publishing of research. Research ethics is the application of moral rules and professional codes of conduct to the collection, analysis, reporting, and publication of information about research subjects, in particular, active acceptance of subjects, right to privacy, confidentiality, and informed consent. Research ethics provides guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. In addition, it educates and monitors scientists conducting research to ensure a high ethical standard. The following is a general summary of some ethical principles: honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness, respect for intellectual property, confidentiality, responsible publication, responsible mentoring, respect for colleagues, etc. And you can say social responsibility, non-determination, competence, legality, animal care, human subject protections. So these are some points. What are the moral foundations of a research? Why do we proceed for a research? Doing good for human, animal, the planet, future generations, etc. Via the pursuit of truth and knowledge. It is our duty to respect individuals, our possible duties to animals, our obligations to the society. So for all those reasons, we should pursue our research for the benefit of the society. So various obligations derive from these foundations, and they can be in tension with each other. Example: ethical guidelines stemming from research as the pursuit of truth. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The truth, be honest about your research. The whole truth, omission of parts of research findings might constitute research misconduct or violate other moral norms. Nothing but the truth. It is also dishonest to puff up or make larger one's result by adding irrelevant or misleading information or overstating their significance. To whom do we owe the truth and why? The public, obviously, for its funding support, individual research participants out of respect for their autonomy, colleagues and collaborators whose research may be based on our research, funding institutions for giving us resources, research institutions, universities, or employers for employment resources, and because of their reputations can be affected by what we do. So clearly, many obligations of research stem from its nature as the pursuit of truth and knowledge. These are some areas of research ethics. The first is research misconduct, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism. Then collaboration issues are there, authorship, data ownership, and management. We'll discuss later in the upcoming slides. Peer review, conflict of interest or obligation. So research misconduct. Research misconduct means fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism in proposing or performing research funded by the funding organization, reviewing research proposals submitted to the particular organization, or in reporting research results to the particular organization. Fabrication means making up data or results and reporting them. Falsification means manipulating research materials, equipments, or processes, or changing or omitting data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record. Plagiarism, it means that the appropriation of another person's idea, processes, results, or words, and sabotage without giving appropriate credit. So these types of research misconducts, like we should not fabricate the research work, we should not falsify the research, we should not copy the others' work in the research. These all are like comes under the research misconduct. So research misconduct does not include honest error or difference of opinion. Fine. Now collaboration issues. What kind of research ethics issues can you think of that might stem from collaborations? Authorship, intellectual property, rigor with which the experiment is conducted, good record keeping, accurate calculations. Now, what are the collaboration issues? Collaboration issues means like you can say authorship credit. Whenever we are writing any research publication, at that time the following individuals contributed in some way to the work reported in a manuscript to be submitted for publication. Who should and who should not be listed as an author and in what order? Lab chiefs are there, program directors are there, technicians are there, postdoctoral fellows are there, and graduate students are there sometimes, undergraduate research assistants are there, glassware washer are there, animal caretakers of the animals are also involved in the research, and departmental colleagues and colleagues at another university with whom we are doing the research. So there are so many people involved while the research is going on. But the question arises, like to whom we should give credit while writing the name of the authors for the particular publication. Then we can also say the collaboration issues, example 2, management and the access of data. So who owns the data and who can make use of it in the future? Can lab notes and material be taken off site? What responsibility do lab workers, students, assistants have in documenting lab work? So these are some collaboration issues related to the management of and access of the data. Peer review. What do you do if you learn something from reviewing a manuscript that could help your own research? Sometimes it happens to us also. The papers are coming for us for the reviewing purpose, and while reviewing the papers, we can get some idea. And if we are using that idea for our own research, is it ethical or not? I think it is not ethical. So what can you do to protect your intellectual property during the review process? This is also a major question. Can graduate students read manuscripts on behalf of their professors? It is also happening. Sometimes what is like some professor is getting some thesis or some paper for the review, and he or she is giving that particular assignment to the researchers or to the students of him. And I think getting the work done by the juniors or research fellows or the students is not an ethical practice. But sometimes some academicians or professors are involving all these types of activities. So this is also not ethical. Then conflict of interest. A situation in which one experiences conflicting pulls from one's personal interest and from one's professional obligation. Most direct example, being paid to say something untrue. Knowing that if you say something positive about a company that gave you a grant, you may be more likely to get a grant from them again in the future. Another indirect example, a funding agency may stipulate that they have a right to decide whether you can publish your findings or may delay your publications. So it's a collective approach. Sometimes what can happen that you are just appreciating some research work. Why? Because they have funded you, and you need to appreciate the particular company or the particular research process. And another thing was also sometimes indirect example. Sometimes whenever we want to publish our research, so the funding agency takes that research publication and they say we'll assess that, we verify that, we'll approve that, that only will allow you to publish, and this can take so much of time. So by doing this, they are unnecessarily putting unnecessary pressure to the researchers, and the publication cannot be out in the proper time. So having duties to two or more parties at the same time, this is also the conflict of interest in the research. For example, the duty to research and the duty to teach, not to mention the duty to one's family, friends, and self. So these are some conflict of interest while the research is going on. So we should all take care of all these things. Now, research values. Research must meet professional, institutional, and legal standards and be guided by universal values. What are those values? Freedom. Freedom under the ethical principles contained in the research center statutes. Honesty. Honesty with the participants, with colleagues, with competitors, with the institution, with the funding agency. And we should declare if any conflict of interest is there. Responsibility towards the funders, the research team, the supervisors, and the actors involved in the research. So the supervisors and tutors are responsible for the research process, taking into account the defined objectives and the time frame for achieving them. Obligations of supervisor. So here it is a very important aspect. What are the obligations, responsibilities of the supervisors? The supervisors should interact personally and regularly with the trainee researchers under their supervision. It should be a regular practice to talking to the researchers. Facilitate access to adequate means and scientific environment. It is also responsibility of the supervisor. Introduce trainee staff to discussion forum and scientific meetings and other advice for their future. Avoid trainee researchers being involved in tasks outside their area of training. Sometimes the students, out of the enthusiasm, and they are very much interested to do something else also other than the research, and with the research they want to do something. So with that, the supervisor should guide them to just concentrate on the particular area of research only. The supervisor should ensure that work oriented to training researchers does not form part of projects with commercial restrictions over the diffusion of results. The supervisor should also ensure that the research is carried out in a safe conditions. The safety measures are also taken care by the supervisor, and at least he should be responsible for all those safety measures. Stress to the trainee researchers to follow the CGPR, that is Code of Good Practices in Research, and be self-critical. The supervisor should offer the trainee researchers all the information in the relation to the existing legal requirements that affect research activity. The supervisor should recognize the personal work of the researcher and be rigorous and fair in the authorship of the publication. So whatever the work is being carried out by the researcher, the supervisor should appreciate that work, and you should also be fair in the authorship of the publication also. He should carry out work in a way that provides an example for the trainee researchers or the all other researchers. Simultaneously, there are the obligation of the research scholars also, whosoever is doing the research, and be fully involved in the project assigned to yourself while taking on the commitments that derive from it and dedicating the necessary time and resources. Make good use of the material and installations available. Follow the advice and recommendations of the supervisors. Inform themselves of safety rules and procedures, following them and respecting the CGPR. Take part in scientific activities, discussion forums, and seminars. This is the most important thing. Like the researchers should, while pursuing their research, they should take part in the scientific activities, conferences, seminars, workshops to strengthen their knowledge and to share their work and to get some better knowledge from the other researchers. And obviously, it should also use for the networking purpose. Sometimes your guide itself, your supervisor itself, is not capable of doing all the things for you. In that case, if you keep on attending workshops, conferences, seminars, and all these types of things, you can connect with other more senior people to make your work better. Recognize the contributions of supervisors and tutor in their oral and written results. It has also been shown so many times that while the student is making a presentation, he or she uses I, me, I did this, I was there, I have done this. So instead of using that word I or me, I think you should emphasize on we, because research is a collective process. It's not a the process carried out only by the one person, that is a researcher. There are guides available, there are friends available, there are there are some colleagues of the guides as well. There are some other professors in the university. So whenever you are representing any research, you are presenting any research at any platform, you should use the word we instead of I. to recognize the contribution of the supervisor and tutors and others in their oral and written results. So it should be the responsibility of the scholars. Now let us talk about the research planning. All research must be contained in a written document. So whatever you are going to do, first of all, you need to make a written document for that. But actually the objectives of the research, how is your methodology, what experiments you are going to do, and how you are going to pursue your work, what tools will be used, okay, what data samplings you are going to use, something like that. So all research protocols that include the use of installations and equipments for the research that are not for exclusive use should receive prior approval from the person responsible from the institution, center, or equipment to be used. Depending on the type of study, ethical and legal aspects must be taken into the account. Now, research involving people. Research protocols involving the direct participation of people or based on biological samples obtained from people must receive the approval of the research center. It should not be done without any approval from the research center. The research that involves the collection of sensible personal data, because in the research sometimes while doing your survey you are getting some sensible personal information from the people, and that information should be strictly used only for the purpose of the research only. It should not be disseminated to other places, or it should not be sold in any case. When the purpose of the research is of clinical nature, the corresponding clinical research ethics committee of the health center where the research is being carried out is instead needed. Collection and storage of material and data. Acquisition and recording. Researchers must record all data and observations obtained from the research activity. It should have the record of each and everything. All data must be conserved for a minimum period of 5 years from the date of publication onwards. So whatever research we are doing, whatever data you have collected, whatever record you are maintaining, you should maintain your record at least up to the date of the publication of research, and after that also at least for 5 years you should maintain a particular record. Original data from the research must be stored in their original form. Excessive improvements or interpretation of the original data should be avoided. Now, data ownership. All the primary data, collection, notebooks, databases, etc., as well as material obtained during the research is the property of the center to which the researcher belongs. So whatever the things are being collected, data is being collected, and everything being observed, that should all be the property of the particular research center. All members of the research team must be able to access the information from the data obtained. And whatever information you have obtained, you should disseminate with all the particular researchers in the particular research center. Sometimes we keep the record and keep the data with ourselves only, we don't share with others. So most of the time it can hamper your own research also. So dissemination of the results. Whatever research we have done, whatever are the outcomes of our research, now it is the time to disseminate our research, to publish our research. But while publishing our research, we should follow some ethical practices. What are those? Let us discuss. The dissemination of the result is an ethical responsibility of the researcher. All researchers must clearly state that they belong to the research center in their published work. Dissemination is in the mass media. It is not considered acceptable to disseminate results of research to the mass media before peer review has taken place, and nor should excessive optimism or false expectations be raised in relation to the research. Authorship again. To determine authorship or co-authorship of a publication and inventor of a patent, the following is required. The person who have made a substantial contribution to the project and the creative processes, to the conception and the design of the project, to the analysis and the interpretation of the results, have contributed to the preparation of the presentation or the report of the results, be able to present and discuss the main aspects of the research as a whole. So whosoever are the authors in a particular publication, in a particular paper or particular thesis, you should be at least have made some substantial contribution. He should have contributed the preparation of the presentation, or at least he must be able to discuss and discuss the main aspects, objectives, and the outcomes of the particular research. So these persons should be involved as the authors of the particular publication. And this is the unethical practice, omission of the author. The deliberate omission of the name of any person who has made a proven contribution according to these criteria is an act of inadequate appropriation of intellectual property by the rest of the authors. Sometimes what happens out of the jealousy, or to make ourselves superior, here we can omit the name of a particular contributor in the particular publication, particular research. So this should not be done. Then order of the authors. It depends on the particular guidelines of the university or the UGC or some agencies like that. But the order in which authors appear in the publication may follow certain customs that are established in each area of the research, and it is recommended that these are respected. Sometimes what happens, researchers is putting the first name as a guide's name to give him the respect. It is not the way to give respect to your guide, putting his name first. If you are the main contributor in the paper, you should put your name as a first person. The guide's name can be the second name, and it doesn't affect the the particular value of the guide or image of the guide. Fine. The work should be mentioned as per the particular contribution of the researcher. So the researcher's name can be the first name, and second name can be of the guide, and third name can be of some other, like whosoever collaborate in the particular research. Error correction and retraction. Sometimes in our publications, our paper has been published, thesis has been published, but now we come to know that there was some mistakes or there are some wrong thing we have mentioned in the particular thesis. Then what we should do? So ethically, if an error is found that devalues the published result, the main authors must discuss the matter with the leader of the research so that the co-authors can be notified. Publish a correction as soon as possible and establish the basis of the reservations. And when the doubts are considered to be serious, a withdrawal must be published as soon as possible. So sometimes it is not bad to withdraw the paper. If you come to know after the publication that the matter which was published is not authentic or not relevant, or some big like some big mistake was there, so you should withdraw the paper also. It should be the ethical. So be proud of your own research integrity. In some, what we can say, enjoy the unique opportunity for developing your intellectual interests. Be proud of your own research integrity. Acknowledge contributions from others. Share, cooperate, contribute to scientific knowledge. So these are these were some ideas I wanted to discuss with you regarding to research ethics. So whenever we are applying, we are doing any research work, we should take care of all these things, especially like the responsibilities of the supervisor, responsibilities of the research scholars, then what are different unethical practices what we can accidentally we can use. So we should avoid all these practices, as I told you. And here also I would like to tell ethically that whatever these slides I have shown you, I have not prepared those slides personally. That slides have been taken, the matter I have taken from these references which I am showing here. I would like to appreciate the work of Dr. Lisa in the Department of Philosophy. Then Dr. Professor Jose Luis Molina in Barcelona. Then these are some other links. So no, if I represent while showing all these slides that I have made all these slides and these are all my observations. It's not a ethical practice. So I am also giving reference. So whosoever work I am using in my slides, in my presentation, I should give the particular references. And for the researchers also, it's a very important thing. Either you give evidence or you give reference. If it is your work, if you have done something, you have contributed, then you should put the evidence forward. And otherwise, if you have taken the material from somewhere else, you should give proper credit. You should cite the work. You should give some citation to the particular work. So this is all I wanted to tell you regarding the research ethics. So thank you so much for listening so patiently, and I hope this talk will be beneficial to the researchers and all other concerned people to improve their research ethically. So with that, thank you so much, and would like to stop my presentation here. And any questions can be taken later on. You can just send me emails also at vijaysingh.rathod@isnu.ac.in, or you can just also fill all these questionnaires whatever been given to you. And thank you so much for listening patiently. Thank you so much.